Hi, Dawn.
Okay.
Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the March 7th meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners. Would you all please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To make introductions, I'm Barb Lewis, President. To my left is Commissioner Jeff Benton and fellow Commissioner Gary Merrill. To my right, Don Newstead is our administrator today, and not Sarah DeNovo, but Jen Walraven is our clerk. Thanks, Jen. We can begin.
Resolution number 19-193, in the matter of approving the electronic record of proceedings from regular meeting held March 4th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-193. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We do not have any public comment today, so that brings us to item number 3, resolution number 19-194, in the matter of approving purchase orders and now certificates and payments of warrants in batch number CM APR 0306 and memo transfers in batch number MT APR 0306.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-194. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-195, in the matter of approving travel expense requests.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-195. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-196, in the matter of accepting and approving the Delaware County Sheriff's Office transport reports for the months of November 2018, December 2018, January 2019, and February 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-196. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-197, in the matter of granting annexation petition from agent for the petitioner, Michael R. Shade, requesting annexation of 100.648 acres of land in Berlin Township to the city of Delaware.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-197. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-198, in the matter of approving an agreement for inmate health services for detainees of the Delaware County Jail between Delaware County and Southern Health Partners Incorporated.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Jeff Balzer with the Sheriff's Office. With me today is Sergeant Nick Carafa. We're here to ask for your consideration on the contract. Our current healthcare services provider has been in place for the past approximately 7 years. They've done a good job, but it was time to rebid for to make sure we had the best value for the taxpayers. As part of the request for proposals last fall, we got 4 different vendors. We received 4 different proposals from the vendors. We went through, had a scoring system, and Southern Health Partners came out on top as far as the value and the services they provide. The contract, we've got some extra in there this time, and it's in the budget. We wanted to add a registered nurse as a manager of the unit. The reason for that was to provide the additional services that only a registered nurse can do, in addition to what is normally provided by the LPNs, and also to reduce our liability and allow us in the future to seek accreditation. We have to have a registered nurse of that unit. We also are going to add electronic medical records as well. So those 2 were the main additional costs this time. The approximate cost per year will be about $775,000, which is the amount that we had proposed and was budgeted this year for the service.
Now, the registered nurse is not employee of the county, it's employee of the contractor. Is that
That's correct.
Any other questions? Vote.
Vote on motion 19-198. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution number 19-199, in the matter of certifying and authorizing the signing of the environmental review record and authorizing the signing of the request for release of funds.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, I'm Jenna Gehring, the Economic Development Coordinator.
This is to show that we have done our due diligence in an environmental review record for the use of the revolving loan funds that you approved a few weeks ago for the impediments to fair housing analysis. And I recommend your approval.
Okay. Discussion? Oh,
Vote on motion 19-199. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you.
thank you.
Resolution number 19-200, in the matter of authorizing the submitting of an application to the Ohio Department of Public Safety Division of Emergency Medical Services grant for the training of personnel and the purchase of equipment for training and education.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Good morning, Commissioners. Chief Schuling, Delaware County EMS. This is a grant that we apply for each year and have for as long as I can remember. This is the grant that is funded through monies collected from seatbelt fines. Typically, we receive around, well, the lowest we received is about $1,700, and the most we receive from this is just under about $5,500. These funds are used to offset the costs for equipment that we use for the CPR training and our outreach system that trains people in CPR. If you have no other questions or have any questions, I would like to recommend your approval for this measure.
Any questions? Vote.
Vote on motion 19-200. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-201, in the matter of approving a right-of-way work permit or right-of-way work easement agreement between Delco Water Company Incorporated and the Delaware County Board of Commissioners.
So moved.
Discussion?
Commissioners, Delco Water has requested this right-of-way easement to update the water meters at our station in Sunbury as part of the an updating of the entire area. This would add a meter pit outside of the station that would permit a much greater ease of access for them to read the meters.
Sure. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-201. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Resolution number 19-202, in the matter of approving a permit for use of Delaware County facilities.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Good morning, Commissioners. Jane Hawes, Director of Communications. We have before you a facilities permit request. This is Harold Wolford's group, Vietnam Veterans of America, at their annual gathering on the front lawn there of the courthouse, the historic courthouse, on March 29th. We recommend your approval.
And I believe the commissioners were invited to attend that, so.
Yes, yes.
Vote.
Vote on motion 19-202. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
And I'd also like to take this opportunity, if I may, to introduce our new Communications Executive Assistant, Marissa Stepp. She is here. Do you want to come up and join me? Yeah. She started yesterday, and we're throwing her right in. So-
I
I
bet.
just want to thank Jane and Mike and everybody has been super welcoming and getting me acclimated, and I'm looking forward to, get the ball rolling. So,
Oh, great. Welcome. Yes, we're very happy you're here.
yes. I'm
Marissa, we have a tradition here that new employees sing their alma mater's fight song. So go ahead. What is Otterbine's fight song? I'm sure you know it.
It's awful,
It's
but
Boomer Center, I think.
I know Carmen better than I know. So we can sing Carmen sometime. Okay,
Villanova's fight song. What's Villanova's fight song,
It's
Jane?
V for Villanova, for victory, da-da-da-da-da, from there.
Go ahead. Microphone's yours.
Yeah.
You never sang it, so the microphone's
No, I
yours.
can't remember the tune even.
All right. You're welcome.
Item number 12 cannot start until 10 a.m. when the time was advertised for the hearing, so we can go to item number 13 with administrator reports.
Okay.
And I have nothing to report today.
That brings us to commissioner reports.
I think it is Commissioner Benton's turn.
Okay, let's see. We did, Commissioner Merrill and I actually did well, you didn't actually do your route.
I'm going to do it
You do
on
it, you've got it
April
set up.
29th,
Yeah.
I believe. I had a conflict. I couldn't stay around long enough to finish it.
Yeah, the Meals on Wheels, drive-alongs, ride-alongs, whatever they're called.
Great.
And it was on Wednesday, I think it was, Tuesday. And that was the coldest day of the year. It was very cold. Every time we got out of the car and stood there, it was freezing.
But you were all bundled up.
Oh, yeah, well, I was all bundled up, but it's still cold. But it was very rewarding, very nice to see it. I did a Berkshire route, and it was really nice to see some people, and it's a very, very good program that really helps, check on people and deliver some good food and so on. Did the OWU accreditation meeting Tuesday evening, it was, and that went extremely well. There were about a dozen people around the table, and they were all talking about all the wonderful things that Wesleyan does, which is a lot. And so it was very well done, and I'm sure Wesleyan ended up getting fully accredited again, which is very important since they're an important part of our community. SEPCO board meetings tomorrow, and then I think we're going to talk about Pheasant Run, but I don't know when we're going to do that. That's an interesting topic. But that's all I got.
Commissioner
The
Merrill.
only thing I have is Morpsey Executive this afternoon, so I'll be down in Columbus, 1:30.
Okay, and I went to the Justice and Public Safety Steering Committee meeting, which is part of our annual legislative conference for the County Commissioners Association of, or NACO, the National County Commissioners Association. So it was really good. We had some good speakers and seminars, but some of the best parts, though, really gives me a chance to talk with our Franklin County commissioners, and we were talking about coming up with grants that we would be applying for, both Franklin County and Delaware County. Needless to say, with over 1 million people, they've got a lot of clout. So it was really interesting. In particular, we're going to be applying for some Department of Justice grants. So I have to tell Cassie Neff, and I think she'll be real pleased. So that was the main takeaway from that conference. And I do believe we can discuss Pheasant Run. We had an email regarding this, and so I will turn it over to our counsel, Eric.
Sure. Eric Hostetler, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney. All of the commissioners, I believe, have received multiple emails about a problem in I believe it's Concord Township is where the development is located. There's a new street. When it was platted, it was named Pheasant Run, and there is already a street in Powell named Pheasant Run. So it's causing problems for deliveries, 911 service, GPS directions, everything when you need to find a certain address. The commissioners have authority to change the name of any road in the unincorporated area. There's a statute specific to that. It provides for either a petition by an affected property owner, or the board can act on their own initiative. Since the earlier street named Pheasant Run is in the city of Powell, you do not have any jurisdiction over that. That previous earlier street serves only one property. Pheasant Run in Concord Township is in a subdivision development serving multiple properties. But it might be easier for the commissioners to deal with that street name change than going through the city of Powell to change the longstanding street, even though it only serves one property. Before I started work on that, I just wanted to have a quick discussion and make sure that I understood how the commissioners want to proceed with that. Since we've received multiple questions from residents, I didn't know if you wanted to ask them to file a petition, or if you would rather that I prepare the documents so that you can proceed on your own initiative.
As far as a new name, it'd probably be helpful in a perfect world if those neighbors could come up with a name to suggest to us, I would think, rather than we pulling something out of the air.
Well, just to explain the process, you would send notice to all of the affected landowners, and you would have to hold a public hearing. And at that so even if you proceed on your own initiative, you would still have to hold that public hearing.
Great.
All of them would receive notice. They could all appear before you, and you could receive some input on what that name might be.
What their name, oh boy.
How many actual homes are built on this property or on this street?
I know that it's a subdivision that's currently, involved in construction, so I don't know how many homes are actually built.
Okay.
I've looked at the aerial map, but that's probably, several months, if not over a year old, so I can't really tell. I haven't driven out there to look at it myself. But it's a subdivision street with some, at least a dozen lots or
The
more.
longer we wait, I guess more homes are going to be built there, the bigger issue it becomes. So
right.
sooner, probably better than later.
Yeah, and I have personally seen emails from 3 different people, I believe.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so it sounds like a real issue that needs to be addressed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had
Well,
letters from Mr. Snyder and Mrs. Rohr, Miss Rohr, so, and there may have been others, but,
I think there was one more, because they've emailed you, they've also emailed the
Oh.
township trustees, engineer's office, and so I think I've seen some come from multiple sources. But it's definitely a problem everybody's aware of, and I think I've spelled out what the options are, and something needs to be done. So we should either request a petition, or if you give me direction, we will prepare a resolution for you to set a hearing.
I'm
What would
good
you
to
like
go
to
to the
do?
hearing, kind of cut to the chase if,
yeah.
I would be reluctant to name the street. You know, the residents may want to name it, and there may be some residents don't want to change.
Sure.
So I guess I would opt for the petition, or at least ask them to do that. And if they don't want to do it, then maybe we could anyway. That would be my thought.
Well, the purpose of a hearing is to
Yeah.
determine whether we move forward or not.
Right.
It's a public hearing, so you would be able to gather that input from whoever showed up to the public hearing. Obviously, there would always be a concern that maybe nobody would show up, but there's been enough interest in this. I believe you'll at least have some attendees. If you wanted to include in the notice, there's no specified form for that notice. You could request suggestions for a name change and see what you get. So, I mean, there are ways you can handle it, but it's very clear that, especially with the 911 issue, there is some confusion with dispatch, and that's a safety concern. So it does need to be addressed sooner rather than later.
Right, I think having a public hearing is the way to go. That way, they will have notice, they can come in, and it sounds as though most people would definitely be in favor of it. It's impacting their delivery of safety services to them, so, and other things, as you mentioned, so.
If we did a hearing, would we have to notify then all the parcel owners?
Yes. So that would happen no matter what. If somebody
Okay.
files a petition, the commissioners must set a hearing and provide notice to all of the property owners. The statute is silent as to how much notice. I believe I recommended 30 days notice before the hearing. If you adopt a resolution to proceed on your own initiative, you still have to set the hearing
And
and provide
notify.
notice. Yes.
Okay.
So
I'm
the
fine
the
with
process would be the same regardless of how it starts, either by petition or by your own initiative.
It just kind of speeds up the process.
Yes.
At the hearing, is that the final, is that where we do our vote on the
You're
name change?
required to hold one hearing. You're not required to necessarily take action after that hearing. So if you wished, you could continue it to have additional discussion.
Or we could decide at that hearing?
You could.
Okay.
Just a comment, in a perfect world, one resident, but that person's had that address for a long time, so I could see why that person would be probably not receptive to maybe changing their address, and it's not their fault that someone duplicated their address, but is it worth at least a phone call to ask that question? Would they entertain it or not?
I'm not even, since I don't represent the city of Powell, I'm not even sure what their procedures are for changing the name of that street. What we could do is somebody from our map department or the engineer's office reach out to the city of Powell and talk about how that, maybe they would be receptive to that if they.
I'm guessing it'll be no, but at least it's worth asking, since that'd be the less intrusive on most people. But by the same token, I could see why they would have no interest.
I don't think people have been in the new I think it's a new subdivision.
It is new.
So people have not been there that long, who have contacted us by email versus,
The only thing I'm saying, I don't think that would work, but at least, it probably ought to at least be asked, and probably goes nowhere, but since it only affects one resident, it's worth at least asking the question, that's my point.
Sure.
And I'm sure we'll still end up at the same place, but the hearing makes all the sense to me, I think.
I can coordinate that as well through the engineer's office to see if
Okay.
that's a possibility
How
before
do
we
we,
prepare.
how do we avoid this happening again? Just an
I'm
oversight,
surprised.
or?
Yeah, I'm surprised they could have two names.
So all of the streets that are listed on a plat go through the map department. I believe it was just an oversight. I don't know if it's because it was in a different township or if the street in Powell is actually a private drive. So that might be the reason why. It does show up when you search the address list on the auditor's GIS, but maybe it's not in a street inventory. I'm not sure. Somebody in the map department would be able to answer that, but my understanding is it was simply an oversight.
Okay. I think so
we're giving him Eric direction to move forward?
yes, yes, definitely. Thanks, I'm glad we discussed that, because it does need to be taken care of as quickly as we can. Question, do you want to go into executive session for 10 minutes? Because we can't start till 10?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
She says we can.
All right. Let's go into executive session then.
Resolution number 19-203, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of employment, promotion, and compensation of a public employee or public official.
So moved.
Second, and just a comment for the people that are here for the hearing. We believe we can do executive session in 10 minutes or less, and we can't start till 10 o'clock anyway, so just for information.
Okay, discussion, vote?
Vote on motion 19-203. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We're now recessed into executive session.
Okay. Resolution number 19-204, in the matter of adjourning out of executive session.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion, vote?
Vote on motion 19-204. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. And we will now go to our scheduled Rudler West Drainage Improvement Project hearing. And I'd like to welcome everyone to the final hearing for the consideration of the Rudler West Drainage Improvement Petition Project. And there is a sign-up sheet circulating somewhere, and we'd like everybody to sign in. Copies of the full final hearing report are also available.
Need to open the hearing.
We can open the hearing.
Oh, we have to open the hearing. Oh, that might be good.
Resolution number 19-205, a final hearing for Rudder West Drainage Improvement Petition Project.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-204. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-206, in the matter of approving for a specific occurrence a suspension of Rule 3, speaker registration, Rule 4, limitations, and Rule 7, public comment procedures from the rules governing public comment before the Board of County Commissioners of Delaware County, Ohio.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-206. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. Ready?
Yeah, you can continue with your note if you'd like.
Okay, thank you. All right. We are going to hear we will hear a summary of the final hearing report from the county engineer and Soil and Water Conservation District. The county engineer and Soil and Water Conservation District will then cover a presentation on the project. The presentation will include additional maps, current photos, photos of the path of the proposed construction, possible drone flight videos, and pictures of similar construction to better illustrate what is being proposed. This presentation will also include a sample amortization of a construction assessment to illustrate what an 8-year replacement may look like, an explanation of maintenance assessments, and an illustration of what a percentage collection means. Following the presentation and before proceeding with testimony, there'll be a question and answer time for both the commissioners and landowners. After questions, there will be time for testimony from landowners. We will hear from all those in favor of the petition project, and we will hear from all those opposed to the petition project. And during the testimony, or right before you would testify, I will just ask you to take an oath. Testimony will continue back and forth. If no new information comes up or if additional people wish to speak, the board will then close the hearing. After listening to testimony and the report of the engineer, the board will decide whether to find in favor of the improvement, affirming the order, confirming the maintenance assessments, and approve the payment schedule, or the board may dismiss the petition by setting aside the order. The board considers the following in their decision: whether the board hereby finds that the proposed improvement is necessary, that it will be conducive to the public welfare. The board also finds that it is reasonably certain that the cost of the proposed improvement will be less than the benefit. And right now, I will turn over the hearing to Brett Bacon.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brett Bacon, Delaware Soil and Water Conservation District. We have prepared this brief presentation to go over the technical aspects of the project. There are some aspects of the final hearing report which are quoted verbatim, and I will point those out. But essentially what we're trying to do is give an overview of what is being proposed, how the project can be paid for, and what maintenance means when we speak of drainage maintenance. So the Rudder West project has been proposed per Section 6131 of the revised code. Essentially, 6131 allows landowners or a group of landowners to petition the county commissioners to construct drainage improvements on their behalf. The timeline of this project: in February of 2006, the original petition was filed by Jeff Steen and others for the Rudder Toot watershed at the time. At the time of the filing, this project had common outlets between several different watersheds that are now separate outlets. The petition specifically requested work commencing in Delaware County, Liberty Township, within the Rudder number 86 and Toot number 98 watersheds, generally following, but not limited to, the course and termini of the existing improvement. The petition specifically asked for to generally improve the drainage, both surface and subsurface, to a good and sufficient outlet by replacing, repairing, or altering the existing improvements as required, and/or creating new surface and subsurface drainage mains or laterals as requested by this petition. These are quoted directly from the petition itself. In May of 2006, the Board of Commissioners held an initial viewing of the entire project area. In August of 2006, the first hearing was held for the project. At that time, the board approved the petition authorizing progression to the survey and design phase of the project. It became fairly clear early on in the design process that the design and construction of Sawmill Parkway would have an effect on the outlet of this project and the other associated parts of its watershed. In 2017, after the Sawmill Parkway project was completed, became clear that the Parkway had established the outlet for the overall petition. In December of 2017, request was filed by Jeff and Margaret Steen to evaluate the Rudder West portion of the project as its own independent project, essentially splitting it from the larger petition. The commissioners held a viewing in April of 2018 for that request, and also in 2018, April, held a hearing and approved the request to split the project into separate parts. So the Rudder West portion of the project, the watershed or the drainage area of that project is 100.412 acres, and you can see it in the larger yellow boundary on this map. Of that watershed, 41% of the land is agricultural, 55% is rural residential, and 4% is road right-of-way. The original petition was signed by 15 of the 25 landowners in the Rudder West watershed, and you can see that the landowners that signed, either the current landowner or the previous owner of a property, represented by this map. To clarify the areas of work, the project has been divided into 3 separate sections. That would be Main, A1, and A2, and we'll get more into the specifics of these in a minute. So the Main begins at the junction with Sawmill Parkway and comes upstream to the point where the 3 lines converge there. The design elements to be incorporated with the construction of the main would be an open channel, approximately 3 to 6 foot deep on average, a 24-inch pipe with buried manhole structures, so the manholes would not be above ground, they would be totally underground. Outlet access provided to all properties with 12-inch pipe extensions and modified breathers. And if you'll see on the kind of the middle of the photo there, and you'll see this in the drone video as well, there's a large spoil mound on the Olentangy Local Schools property that we would require to be moved as part of the construction of this project. Essentially, it's right in the project path. So we do have a drone video of what would be the center line of the path of construction. The video will start at the junction of the main and A1 and A2 right there, and it will end at Sawmill Parkway. So we're right in this area right here will be the path, coming up here and then turning. Sorry.
Is that the mound you referenced?
Yes. It's approximately, I'll guess 30 feet high.
It's long.
We will essentially be right on the line between what you see as the tilled agricultural field here and the grass as the buffer for the pond.
It is a pond, it looks,
It's a retention pond that was constructed as part of the parkway. To the left is Olentangy School property, to the right is right-of-way owned by the county. And you can see there in the upper right, the culvert under Sawmill Parkway, that is the ultimate outlet for the project. So the next section of the project would be what we call lateral A1. It will be a 24-inch pipe extending from the upstream end of the main up to the Clark Shaw Road right-of-way. There'll be, again, buried manhole structures on the 24-inch pipe. There will be an inlet structure at Clark Shaw Road to allow the road ditch drainage to enter the system. And all existing laterals encountered or disrupted by the construction of the project would be connected into the new 24. Again, drone video. This time we will start at the downstream end of the lateral at the junction of the main and A1 and A2, moving upstream. And these videos were all taken last Wednesday.
When were they taken?
Last Wednesday. Last week.
That's what I wondered, yeah. Very efficient way of doing it. I can't imagine.
Lateral A2, again beginning at the junction of main and A1, will be a 12-inch pipe extending from the upstream end of the main to the Clark Shaw right-of-way on the Steen property. There'll be modified breathers to allow for surface water to enter the drainage system. Again, all existing laterals would be reconnected into the 12-inch pipe. Drone video on this, starting again at the junction of the 3 separate legs, ending at the upstream end. We have some representative pictures of some of the items of construction. These are not exactly what the construction would look like, but similar when we say open ditch or open channel, other projects that we've done, the things that we think would be similar in nature to what would be proposed at the Rudder West project. So this is an open channel, would be on the main from the road culvert that you saw in the drone video upstream to, it's hard to see on this, but the yellow and black line essentially is what we're looking at. But basically up to where the 24-inch pipe would begin. This is a rock line channel, would be placed approximately at the point where you see the arrow on the photo. This would be essentially outlet protection for the 24-inch pipe so that we would minimize or prevent erosion from occurring in our open channel. A side inlet structure currently planned at the 2 points of where the arrows are. This is just a small structure where surface water enters the open channel from the side to allow for that water to drop into the open channel and not erode the banks. Tile main breathers and surface inlet points. I have 2 pictures of these showing 2 different varieties of a breather. These would be at various points of the project, essentially at a minimum 1 per property that the drainage is crossing. And it's just a point that will allow the surface water to collect around the breather, essentially a low point, and then enter down into the tile system. Reseeding, all areas disturbed by construction will be reseeded at the end of construction. This is a project that was done in 2018 completed, I'm sorry. Just shows that you can see the 2 breathers in there. That was the path of construction. Our maintenance crews will be out as much as necessary to make sure that all areas disturbed by construction are returned to their pre-construction vegetated state as they were before the project. And then a blind inlet. This is just a rock structure that will be placed up at Clarkshaw Road that allows the surface water from the road ditch to enter the system, in this case the 24-inch pipe, and does so in a way that allows the water to get in without allowing debris and sediment to get into the system. Kind of acts as a filter. Project cost estimate. The main, we're estimating $261,113.76 for construction. That includes the spoil mound removal on the school property, and I'll touch on that here in a second. Administration, construction, inspection, drainage maintenance pay-in, $17,716.35 for a total of $278,830.11. Of that, $154,000 is to be direct assessed to Olentangy Local Schools for moving the spoil mound, and the school will be given the option to perform this work on their own outside of the construction contract for the project if approved.
If they do it under your direction?
They would do it under our direction. Essentially what we would be asking them to do is move it out of the work area. We have met with Olentangy Schools, and preliminary indications are that they will indeed do this work on their own. So if that is the case, this item would be taken off the construction estimate, would not be bid out for the contract. Of the remaining amount, $70,152 would be direct assessed to Clarkshaw Reserve LLC for additional requested capacity. This is a development parcel on the south side of Clarkshaw Road that requires more capacity than what the agricultural and rural residential standards would I guess, require. And so in upsizing the system to accommodate that, they will be paying the difference in cost between the original design and the proposed design. So none of that cost will be borne by the landowner. So essentially, for the main, the total assessed to the watershed would be $54,678.11. For A1, construction would be $52,957.50. The administrative cost, $3,802.50, for a total of $56,760. And again, of that $56,000, $40,779.50 would be direct assessed to Clarkshaw Reserve LLC for the same reason. Total assessed to the watershed for A1, $15,980.50. For A2, construction would be $32,993.50. Administrative costs, $6,434.50, for a total of $39,428, and there are no direct assessments for A2. As far as calculating assessments, the revised code instructs the county engineer to calculate the assessments to the property owners in the watershed based on the benefits received. Specifically, the code says, and I'm quoting this directly from the revised code, lands that have been removed from their natural state by deforestation, cultivation, artificial drainage, urban development, or other man-made causes shall be considered as benefited by an improvement required to dispose of the accelerated flow of water from the uplands. We use a formula that's widely used throughout the state of Ohio to calculate our assessments. It uses acres benefited times a land use factor times the percentage use of the project to produce a parcel assessment factor. The parcel's percentage share of the project then is the individual parcel assessment factor divided by the sum of the assessment factors of all the parcels. And then the parcel assessment is determined by the percentage share by the total estimated cost. Landowners have two options to pay their assessments if the project is approved. They can pay the assessment in full upfront within 30 days of this final hearing. That would be by April 8th, 2019. And in so doing, they must submit a notice of intent that was included in the notification letters that were sent out for the project. That notice of intent must be submitted to the clerk by March 28th, 2019. They can also have the assessment placed on their property tax bill as a special assessment. If they do choose to have the assessment placed on their property taxes, there would be interest and other fees if the project is bonded, and there's also an auditor's and treasurer's 2% collection fee. I'm going to go through this in as much detail as I can here. We have an amortization example. We're going to make several assumptions when talking about this, and this is the point of this is to illustrate what an average assessment would be. And by an average, I mean the mean assessment for the total list of parcels in the watershed. So we're going to assume there's nobody that pays up front. The project is bonded, and the commissioner set an 8-year repayment schedule. The total estimated cost of construction, all main A1 and A2, minus the direct assessments that are associated with the project, is $110,086.61. The financing cost that would be associated with the county bonding this project, just as an example, the debt issuing fees, which would be the bond counsel and bank fees, would average right around $8,000. The county gets somewhere between a 3% and a 5% interest rate on our bonds. The county has an excellent bond rating, so we're going to use a 4% sample interest rate for this example. The $110,000 plus the $8,000 financing cost times the 4% would equal $4,723.46 in interest, for a total estimated cost of construction and financing of $122,810.07. Applying this then to an individual parcel, the $122,810.07, our total estimated cost, the average construction assessment, not including right-of-way parcels and not including the direct assessments, is $3,750. That equates to a 3.4% share of the project. The 3.4% share of the total estimated cost of construction and financing would equal $4,175.54. The 2% auditor treasurer fees that would go along with this would be $83.51. That's the auditors and treasurer's fees to actually collect and account for the funds, producing a total assessment for the average parcel of $4,259.05. Extending this out over an 8-year repayment schedule then, 16 semi-annual payments divided into the $4,259.05 would equal a payment schedule of $266.19. And you can see that the earliest we would estimate that this project would be placed onto property taxes as a special assessment would be 2021. So 2021 to 2028, this parcel would be paying $266.19 a half. If the project's approved, the project will be advertised for public bid by the county. The lowest and best bid is awarded the contract, and bids may not be accepted that are in excess of the final hearing engineer's estimate, and this is again per the revised code. So the price that we are quoting today, the project can't cost more than that without reconvening this meeting and having another hearing on it.
But it could be less.
It could be less, absolutely, and often is. If the project is less, the final schedule of assessments is reduced pro rata by the difference between the estimated cost and the final cost. And then upfront pay, if a parcel chooses to pay upfront and the project does end up costing less than what we have estimated, there will be a refund issued for the difference. Section 6137 of the revised code requires projects to be placed onto drainage maintenance, which is a program run by the county in cooperation with the commissioners, the Soil and Water Conservation District, and the engineer's office. The purpose of drainage maintenance is to keep a project operating at its original design capacity. So if we require a certain amount of water to be flowing through the system, we're going to make sure that water is always able to flow through the system at that designed rate. Maintenance funds are collected, again, as a special assessment to the property owners that are benefited by the project. And common maintenance activities include inspections, seeding, repairs, and erosion control activities. Maintenance assessments are determined based on the final schedule of construction assessments. This is the construction costs only, not financing costs. So the maintenance costs for a project are not affected by whether a parcel would choose to pay their assessment up front or have it placed on their property taxes. Most of our projects average a 2.5 to 5% annual collection for maintenance. And this collection percentage can vary depending on the maintenance needs of the project. So if a project does not require a lot of work, the maintenance assessment may be less. If there's a large amount of work that is required to be done on a project, for instance, if there'd be an obstruction in the tile system, or we have a lot of projects on wooded corridors where we've had ash trees fall into the channel. It's required a lot of work. Those projects are adjusted up to account for that additional work. And drainage maintenance is perpetual. It does not end. So applying the maintenance collection to our amortizations example, going back to our original average construction assessment of $3,750, applying a 3% maintenance collection plus the 2% auditor treasurer's fees would produce an annual assessment for maintenance of $114.75. So you can see in the first 8 years of collection, our average parcel would be paying their $266.19 in construction, plus a $57 per half maintenance assessment. Once the construction is paid off, they would only have the maintenance assessment as a special assessment for the project. The revised code requires the county engineer to conduct a cost-benefit analysis for each project. The benefits of drainage improvements exist for both agricultural and residential parcels. For agricultural parcels, the benefit is realized by the increased yield as a result of good drainage being in place. Estimated yield increases given the soils in this area would average 46 bushels per acre of corn increase and 14 bushels increase per acre for soybeans. And these would be assuming that the appropriate drainage improvements would be in place on each parcel. The USDA average crop price 2017 to 2013 for corn is $4.27 per bushel and $11.14 per bushel for soybeans. 41% of the land, 41 acres of the land in the watershed is currently agricultural, and this produces an average, or would produce an increase of $8,053 for corn and $6,394 for soybeans, and this would be if the entirety of the 41 acres was planted to each. Averaging this out over the 41 acres, you would have an average annual benefit of $7,223 to the agricultural acreage. Benefits to residential parcels commonly focus on the quality of life improvement, neighborhood perception, and the effect of drainage on the home site sewage treatment systems. A failed home site sewage treatment system can cost $15,000 to $25,000 to repair or completely replace. And we find that new developments average between $1,000 to $3,000 per lot spent on providing an adequate drainage outlet for each parcel in their development. With 15 residential parcels in the watershed, this would produce a $15,000 to $45,000 benefit at minimum. The commissioners have several options before them today as far as approving or denying the project. As we said, the project is divided into main A1 and A2. Construction of A1 and A2 is dependent upon approval of the main, whereas the construction of the main is not dependent on approval of either of the laterals. So the options before the board would be to approve main A1 and A2, approve main and A1 and deny A2, approve main A2 and deny A1, approve the main and deny both A1 and A2, or deny all parts of the project. Approval of any part will require setting a repayment schedule and whether to bond the project. Confirming the schedule of assessments and ordering the project be advertised for public bid. If the decision is to deny the project, it would be recommended to distribute the costs incurred by the county engineer, the county commissioners, and the Soil and Water Conservation District incurred in preparation of the plan, schedules, and reports for the project back to the landowners in the same ratio as determined by the final schedule of assessments. That amount right now is estimated to be about $9,500. The Ohio Revised Code requires the county engineer to state a recommendation for the project in the final report. This is a quote directly from the report and will be my last slide. Based on all of the information gathered and generated, I believe this project as proposed is technically feasible and would serve as an adequate outlet for the drainage needs of the watershed. Furthermore, the parcel assessments for this project are within the range of assessments that can be expected for a project of this scope. The testimony brought to the Board of Commissioners by the landowners as to whether the benefits of this project exceed the costs should be given significant consideration in the decision to move forward with this project.
Anything else, Brett?
Let me get this map up. Catch my breath, and I'd be happy to answer any questions the board or the landowners may have.
Oh, okay. Let's have the board, just, any questions on Brett's presentation? It was excellent, and what helps too is what you had already passed out, which everyone should have, this Rudder West drainage.
And I'll disclaimer, there were some minor tweaks. I made some tweaks this morning to the presentation, so it's a little bit different than what you have passed out, but
Okay.
good, I'm glad.
Okay, that has it in black and white, what the slides, what he just went through.
I mean, the questions I had, Brett, you and I talked and emailed, so, I mean, the questions were mainly about Olentangy's work and then the Clark Shaw Reserve LLC's assessments and so on, so.
I do believe the school has every intention of doing that work themselves based on the meeting that Brett Bergerford and I had.
Whether they do or don't, it wouldn't affect the property owners.
Correct.
Because it would-
Yeah, no effect to the property owners. Those costs would be direct assessed to the school.
I just want to this is kind of a new approach on this presentation compared to how we've done it. So you guys, and I think it's very helpful because a lot of times questions come up that are kind of standard questions, and you answer some of those standard questions, which makes it a lot easier for the residents who are affected by it to understand it. So
Yeah.
my compliments.
For good or bad, this project gets to be the guinea pig.
But,
So.
but I think because of that, there'll be a lot more clarity going forward as we have this conversation.
It is a confusing process.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Any questions, Commissioner?
I have none at this point.
Oh, okay. Then what we'll do now is, if anyone in the audience has any questions, there are two opportunities for you to speak, two separate opportunities. And the first would be is if you have any questions over the factual material presented, you know, what does this mean? And then the second opportunity to speak will be, and that'll be separate, but that will be whether you are for or against the project. So right now, I believe I swear people in both, I mean,
For questions, that up to you, but for testimony, they'll have to be sworn in.
yeah, for all testimony, okay. Not questions, okay. I won't swear you in if you have questions, but I will if you have testimony. Thank you.
So I think the first thing we ask is if there's anyone who has any questions.
Yes,
That
that's
might
what
provide clarity.
yeah, that's what I'm doing. Any questions? Yes, sir. And what you'll have to do is just state your name and address. It would help if you would even show us your parcel, give us your number, and then
Yeah, it's a top button here.
speak to the mic.
Colorblind, so I can't see it. Common problem in these areas. Yeah, it does.
I bought property back in '91, and the reason I purchased this property, I'm Terry Airsmith. I live at 3180 Clark Shaw, and my house sits here. And my question is, the tiles that surround my house here, are those in place already? That's the question.
Brett, the question's probably going to be coming to you, so you might
Yeah,
want to
just
step forward.
stay up here, Brett. Yeah.
And you can see, it goes through the corner of my home, and my concern is that an existing tile, or is this just a guessing? This yellow tile here?
That's not a tile.
That's
The-
what?
The yellow line is the watershed boundary.
Okay.
Just where we determined that the, water within that boundary flows to the outlet there at Sawmill Road. Water outside that boundary goes to a different watershed.
Okay. And there's tiles that are not on here. I know that,
Yeah.
because I've tied into them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there are existing tile in this watershed. It's old remnant drainage, agricultural drainage, drainage that was installed as part of the original Rudder number 86 petition that would have been initiated more than likely back in the early 1900s. Those tile are accounted for on our engineering plans. What we have shown on this map is just the new tile that are proposed to be installed as part of the project.
Now I'm going to give testimony, so do I need to?
Right, not testimony. Did you, not yet. I want others to get their
Okay.
questions in first.
Well, the reason that I bought what I bought was because I walked this property during heavy rain. And I sit right at the apex, and if you see that, that's the break. This goes to the Soda River, and then on this
Yeah.
side
So I
goes.
think
Sir, are you giving the testimony now?
Well, I'm sure that's going to be commingled with questions also.
But if you have a.
No, just, yeah, best, let me have someone else ask another question. Unless you have a question, just go ahead and
I'm
ask
sure
it.
there'll be a few. I'm sure there'll be a few. So, like I say, we're the guinea pigs, right? The first one that's done this type,
Yes.
feels like it. You know, I'm going to have questions about it, but I'm also having concerns about the tile being run through my property. And where it's at, where it cuts through my land right here is, you know,
I think you better
Yeah. Let me have someone, you can come right back up when we start the other testimony then. Anyone else have any other questions? Yes, sir. Yes, come to the, yes, we're in audio, we have to,
So I am located at property, basically 23 right there. How is this beneficial to my property considering my house was built over 125 years ago? Considering, basically, whenever you move new soil, you basically destroy the natural draining capabilities of it. This has been many, you know, scientifically tested.
where's your
But
property?
Basically 23, the house is over 125 years old. I do not have standing water. My house was built on an elevation. Basically, I mean, it's not really beneficial to me at all because my ground still naturally drains.
Yeah, it sounds like testimony too. Okay. You don't have a specific question right now? You can come up and tell us how you feel in a minute. Any other questions?
Paul Bergen, 3200 Clarkshaw Road. And this is a question for you, so I don't know if you'll be able to see where I'm
Yeah,
going.
I know what you are.
But my property's right here.
Yes.
And this is the watershed we're talking about. My question is, you're an engineer, benefit versus cost. What benefit will my property, I have most of my standing water's in the back here. What do you see as a benefit?
Let me address benefits with regards to how the revised code defines benefits.
Okay.
This is a common misconception, or not, I want to say a misconception. This is a common question that we get on these projects. Normally, we think of benefit as, you know, something actually tangible that you're going to receive from something. The revised code with regards to 6131 projects is very specific that benefit is equated to use. So if water exits a property and enters an improvement constructed under 6131, then it is to be considered benefited. The revised code actually uses the word shall be considered as benefited by the project. And that goes back to the slide that I had up there that quoted that directly from the revised code. If water enters the improvement, we have no choice but to consider the property as benefited and assess it for the construction and maintenance of the project.
Okay.
Now, what the benefits to each individual parcel, whether a parcel believes or a parcel owner believes that the benefits of the project exceed the cost to their individual parcel, that is up to each individual parcel to decide and to testify, but that is testimony. So I would caution to
Okay.
not include that in this portion of the hearing.
Okay, thank you.
So I guess.
Yes, sir, could you reintroduce yourself, please? And your-
Paul Bergen,
Thank
3200 Clarkshaw Road.
Thank
So
you.
I guess all I'm asking is, I'm not asking you to tell me the benefit. I guess, will I see any less water if I'm outside the watershed of this project? Standing, will I see any less standing water if I'm not within the boundaries of the yellow line?
This project will only address the area within the boundary of the yellow
Okay.
line.
All right.
And the costs are only.
Because that is the only thing the county has been requested to address. There's been no petition on that area outside, so,
And the
as part of
costs
this
are limited to
project.
that area as well, correct?
Pardon?
And the costs are limited to that area as well.
Yes, Yes, so that parcel would only be being assessed by the amount of that parcel that is within the watershed, not the part of the parcel that is outside the watershed.
Okay. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Katie Steeman. I live at 2970 Clark Shaw. So my property is number 21, like, let's see if I can get that. So we're pretty significantly affected. It's like all along our property line here. My only question is, like the drone video you could see, the back of our property is lined with trees. I don't know how wide that is going to be. Like, is it going to kill my trees?
No.
Okay. Okay.
The pipe will be, let me try to use
Question.
this thing. I gotta find it and then follow it. I give up. Pardon my not using the microphone.
There we go. That helps.
Yeah, okay. So the pipe will go up this orange and black line, cross onto the school property. The actual open channel will be completely on the property owned by Olentangy Schools. So there wouldn't be any construction except where there is I believe it's an 8-inch tile that comes off your property about right there. And actually goes under the spoil mound. That will be tied into the open ditch, and we will install a 12-inch pipe back to parcels 21, 7, and I think that's 16, so that they will have outlets to the open channel. So you'll have a 12-inch pipe, you can tie in subsurface drainage to that pipe, as well as that modified breather that would allow surface grading, allow surface water to enter and eventually get to the open channel. Great.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Hi,
Hi.
Sandy Edwards, 2917 Clark Shaw Road. We're in parcel 8. I don't know where this little dude is, right here.
Okay.
And my question is, we have an aeration system where it runs out through the field, out to the ditch. So what do you do for that?
Which one?
8, right? Where's that one? We're on the south side.
Yeah.
And through our field, runs
Sure.
our aeration out to the
Sure.
ditch. So what are you gonna do?
There currently isn't any construction plan to cross Clark Shaw Road. All the drainage south of Clark Shaw Road right now would be left as it is. I do know there's plans as far as the development to, I'll say, extend or replace the culvert under Clark Shaw Road and incorporate it into this system. That would, your drainage that you speak of, that would be incorporated into
You're
that.
talking about, you're charging us for laterals. So where are these laterals going? And is it going to affect the aeration system?
It will not affect your aeration system, other than, your aeration system is dependent on the existing tile as it sits right now, which is,
It has its own thing that was.
so it outlets to the road ditch?
Yes.
Okay, so
It has for 50 years.
okay, so the road ditch the drainage out of the road ditch will be significantly improved by this project. So my assessment would be that your aeration system drainage would be improved as a result of this project.
Okay, but you're saying that we're not getting laterals?
No, the project is stopping at Clark Shaw Road.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know it's stopping at Clark Shaw.
Right.
We're on Clark Shaw.
On the north side of Clark Shaw
We're on
Road.
this, okay.
Yeah, so the project is not extending through,
You're not doing anything on the south side of the Clark
no,
Shaw.
no.
So then, why would she need to pay $4,000?
Because the water from her parcel crosses under Clark Shaw Road and enters the system.
So she should only be charged for the main. Why was she charged for laterals?
A1, she's only being charged for A1 and the main, not A2.
Right. And it says.
Because
in our
A1
paperwork
is what-
sent to her,
yes.
It says laterals and to tie into the main.
Correct. Because her drainage would pass through A1 and then get into the main.
Okay, let's,
moving into testimony here.
any other specific questions? And then, yes, sir. Pardon?
Gabriel, 3022 Clark Shaw, which is parcel 12. My question to Brett and I asked you this offline, but to make sure I understand for if I find after this that I still have issues on my property, am I allowed to privately do improvement on my land and tie into this to improve my drainage?
Absolutely is the answer. Any parcel that the project passes through is permitted to make parcel-specific improvements and tie their drainage into the main. Or, sorry, into the project as a whole.
Are they then inspected by?
All connections are inspected by drainage maintenance.
Okay, we have to give questions. Again, we're on audio, so you have to speak to the mic. Any other questions? Sure.
Mike Suzie, 2900 Clark Shaw. To carry off his question, if you got to go to like multiple properties to get to this area right here, like if you got, this doesn't take.
Brett, will you stand by the mic? Because people have to turn around and,
If this doesn't take care of this problem right here, and we've got to run a lateral over to this, and you got to cross over a couple properties, who do we got?
Your parcel number 6?
6 and 7, yeah. So if we have to get to, say it doesn't take care of this area back here, we're, you know. So, and we got to go across another property, how do we get permission to go across the property to tie into that? And
I'm trying to get bearings here.
we have a big issue with this pond back here, and then we have an issue right back in here. So if this doesn't take care of this area, I have to run, to do
I understand what you're saying now.
and then we have to
Yeah.
cross over property.
Right.
How does that?
We'll work with you on that.
Okay. And then also, one other question would be the mound, was that disappearing, or where's it going?
Our requirements as far as the spoil mound would be that it be moved out of our work limits. You know, so in essence, to construct the project, we need it shifted 100 feet to the north. It's up to Olentangy whether the mound actually stays on their property or gets moved to another site. All we require, though, is that it be moved far enough to construct the project.
okay? Any other questions?
What was the answer to his question about the lateral?
Just got one quick question. Mike
Yes,
Kissel.
sir. What, your name and address?
Mike Kissel, 3102 Clark Shaw. We're property 20, I believe. I can't see without my glasses on. But again, with the connection, the way I had one of your gentlemen from your office, Scott, came out, and my understanding is where that lateral goes through, I'll have access to that to tie into that. So every property owner will have access. I mean, kind of going back to Mike's question, property number 6 there, it doesn't look like there's anything that's running over to that property for them to tie into. And you'd have to go under a neighbor's driveway to get to that.
It would be possible also to bring it up to the road right away and connect it.
Okay. I mean, I think I guess my thought would be I mean, if we're all paying for, as you guys called it, the freeway to do that, every property should have a lateral that comes up that we can tie into.
Every
that.
property that signed the petition and requested the work.
Will have a lateral so we can access. Okay.
Or access through the road right.
What's that?
The road right of way, publicly owned.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Are there any other questions before we get into testimony? Yes, sir.
On the.
Just your name and address again.
Terry Smith, 3180 Clark Shaw.
Thank you.
On these, do they require easements placed on your land?
Yes.
Okay, well, how wide are those easements?
The easements generally are 25 feet, centered over the top of the pipe.
25 feet of your property you can't build or do any development of any kind? You can't restrict, put a fence, a tree, anything of that nature? Property?
No, not necessarily, but the easement exists to protect the drainage. So obviously, if there's going to be building activity, we would require that be done in a way that doesn't impact the drainage. You know, but the revised code requires us to establish the easements to maintain the drainage,
So
per 6137.
Does an easement basically is a restriction? Do you find that improves the property value with a restriction on it?
I can't make a comment as to whether, you know, whether it's a benefit to the property or not. That's up to each individual landowner to determine that.
But it would be an easement placed across your property, and it is 25 feet wide.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions
Yes, I
before
do
we
have
get into?
there's development going in across the street. There's 1,140 homes down the south side of Clark Shaw. And Stites Road extension is coming across Clark Shaw. You see this right here, where the tile is, where this portion right through here, and it's not on this particular map, but Stites Road is proposed to come down right through these two homes and divide them and then cut off this way and run up to Ford Road. And my concern is Steen's property is a pain. It's a bowl, it's a moat around his house. He needs help. There's a tile, that tile will definitely benefit him greatly. But on my particular property, this 25-foot easement restriction on my property doesn't help the value. And the fact that no one can truly tell you when this road's coming through could be any time. It depends on the development in the area and the economy and everything else. So for me to spend the money, $3,100 in order to do this.
Well, sir, that's testimony again. Is there a direct question?
I have a question connected.
Then what
to
is it?
When is the road coming through? Does anyone know?
And we have
Also,
someone
when-
here from the engineer's
One other
office.
question that goes with that is when this easement down through these properties were established, does the left hand know what the right hand's doing? Has there been any development in reference to this waterway that takes in consideration of Stites Road? I mean, has it?
Okay, well, we have an engineer here. He will address your questions. You can turn on the lights, I think, now. Thank you.
Brett Bergerford, Delaware County Engineer's Office. I was handed this exhibit. Sir, you said you pulled it off the county website?
Yeah, Paul Bergen, 3200 Clark Shaw Road. This was pulled off the county engineer's website as the proposed extension of Stites Road, as what my neighbor was talking about.
Oh, I think you pulled this off the regional planning website. Is that accurate?
It should be noted.
I'll share it. Let me share it with the commissioners.
Okay.
That's the layer that's showing proposed.
Stites Road.
Locations, future, it's kind of, it's more or less
Hypothetical or?
hypothetical.
This is larger, easier to see. It's highlighted in reference to where our homes are and where Stites Road's got it in its sights.
You want to state that for the record, just what you told us?
My concern on paying Terry Airdsmith, 3180 Clark Shaw, my concern is, you know, the Steen's property needs access to a water source evacuation. It needs to go away because that's a nightmare living with water like that. And I'm not opposed to this tile in any means, but I am opposed to being forced to pay for it, knowing that, I mean, the engineers that did the property across the street, if you did an aerial photo, you'd see that the roads are exactly where they initially wanted them. They haven't changed. Therefore, I think Stites Road with that extension is going to go right down my driveway. I see no reason why it would vary from the engineered plans. So my concern is.
So let me answer your question. Sure. Let me answer your question. Again, Brett Bergerford, Delaware County Engineer's Office. Again, the exhibit that you provided me, I appreciate that. That's a conceptual layout. At this time, the Stites Road extension, I think is how everybody's referring to it is at Clark Shaw Road. It's not a current county roadway project, and as with a lot of roadway projects, they're developmentally driven, essentially to build a road to the land that's being developed. At this time, I have not seen any plans for that alignment.
Right there.
Well, that's just a concept. That's not an actual plan, like an engineering plan.
But my question is, if Stites Road so far has followed their proposal, what would change? doesn't seem to me like it would change.
A lot of variables can change in the design and layout phase.
Keep in mind, they're putting a turning lane across the street from my house.
I understand that, sir. I understand that, but
So
please,
you would think that any further advancement, they would follow the exact layout that's on that proposal.
again, in a concept phase, it's a hypothetical layout. And we have no engineering plans to show where that alignment is going to be.
Yeah, all right, you can get into this too more with your testimony. Let me just finish with all the questions. I'm assuming, Brett, that a road isn't going to go in that would hurt any of the work that you are going to be doing?
That is an accurate statement, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
That a roadway will not be impacting the drainage.
You have no knowing.
Okay, sir, one more question, or any, we'll have more, if there are questions, that's great, but we've got to get onto the testimony. Go ahead,
I'm
sir.
at track 23, basically. As far as the new builds, have they basically did the math and basically what the drain off from that is going to be? Because, well, if you basically disturb the dirt, you completely lose your natural ability to drain, plus it's a concrete jungle. What's the percentage of drainage that's going to come from there versus us? Because I feel like the amount of drainage is going to be almost double what the normal landowner has, because we have the natural ability to drain, and they do not. Like, is that all been accounted?
Well, I guess I disagree with the statement that when you disturb the earth, it loses its natural ability to drain. I don't think that's an accurate statement. But to answer the question, the drainage that's coming from the proposed development, they are being given a certain CFS, cubic feet of water per second, that they're going to be permitted to discharge into the system. The county engineer will have review and approval authority on their plans, and those plans are being constructed to release the water from that subdivision at that rate and not more.
Okay, are there any more questions?
I refute the natural draining because on a septic
All
or
right,
even a
all right, that's
highway safety
testimony.
patrol, or not safety.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Let's begin with the testimony. I'm going to first, as we always proceed, with the testimony from the landowners who are in favor of the petition. If there's anyone in favor, if you would please come forth. We'll get you. Yeah,
My
thank you.
name's Katie Steeman. I live at 2970 Clarkshaw Road, parcel number 21.
Oh, yes, I do, I'm sorry.
Which parcel?
Number 21.
I'm sorry, I have to swear you in. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right,
You want me to start over with my name? Yeah. Katie Steeman, I live at 2970 Clarkshaw Road, so parcel number 21, which if you look at the map, a significant amount of our, our land will be right on the drainage line there. So over half of our, it's up our driveway and around the back of our property. So we've lived in Clarkshaw for 8 years, and certainly the drainage has gotten significantly worse since we moved in. We've noticed a big difference since the Sawmill extension was put in, and you can see we're about a quarter mile from that. We have, I don't know if you noticed on the drone placement, we have huge potholes in our driveway because we actually have a current moving across our driveway when we have significant rain. It is literally washing our driveway away. My husband in the last 6 months has put down a couple tons of concrete to try to patch those holes, and it continues to wash away our driveway. So we actually had our basement flood about 2 years ago, which I'm sure it wasn't completely caused by this, but I think it was a factor where, the land was already saturated. And the extra rain that we had, there just was nowhere for the water to go. We have a sump pump and a backup sump pump, and those both failed, and our basement was flooded. So we've had, significant work with maintaining the driveway, significant money. We've had trees die, and just, UPS drivers won't come down our driveway when it's flooded. So it's just, it's a big pain for us. So even though we have to pay, and we have, over half of our property line will be, disturbed by this. We are very excited to have some changes in our drainage and, really think it'll improve our property values and just the amount of work that we have to do to maintain our property, so.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the petition? If you'd please come forward. Thank you. And I will swear you in. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Thank
Hi.
you.
My name is Jennifer Gabriel. My husband Nathan is in the audience as well today. And we are at property number 12 on 3022 Clark Shaw Road. So you can see that there. I want to take this opportunity to say hi to my new neighbors. Nathan and I, we bought the property, our dream property. We moved in September of 2018, so we haven't been there long. And I guess in our naivety, we did not know about the water problems. The previous owners made a brief statement, and that was it. And to our horror, after we moved in, our property has a significant amount of water that lands on it. There have been some really good pictures today and some representative pictures. I was wondering if my husband could present you with a couple of pictures, and our neighbors are more than welcome to see, I think, Katie's driveways in some of these shots. And what I would first like to say to my neighbors is I know this is a lot, there's a lot of tension, there's money involved, and what I would say is to the folks that maybe don't see the water problems on their properties, all of our properties contribute to it. Our property, our property takes a significant amount of water. About the back acre floods, you can see in those pictures there that we took those in February, Nathan? Late January? Late January. In those pictures, there's up to 6+ inches of standing water. About an acre of our side floods, which is near Katie's driveway. And our intention, we have 2 little girls, you can see in the pictures there. They're Emma and Caitlin, they're 4 and 6. And we're horse owners. Our intention, why we bought this dream property, was to be able to have a few horses on our land with us to realize that dream. We've been in Liberty Township since 2010 elsewhere, and we moved here again in September. And we would love the opportunity. It's a lot of money, but to be able to clear that water off our land so that we might have a chance of having horses there. We're never going to be able to have our horses there with this kind of water, and it kind of has dashed our dreams to be able to realize that. And so we would appreciate the opportunity. I think all 3, the main, the A1, and the A2, would benefit a lot of us. And so we would implore the commission to approve all 3 of them, just to make it the most beneficial to everyone, including us. And we're going to be spending more money to do our own private work, but we would really appreciate the opportunity to be able to have those little girls have their horses on our property.
May I have a question?
Sure.
I assume this is all standing water, there's no pond up here, is that correct?
There's no pond. We have geese that land on it and think it's a pond. But in the drone picture, I think you saw that they took last week, the water had receded away. I mean, it's still, if you stepped on it, you'd sink. But that's what it looks like when the water's, it's pretty bad. And the drone picture didn't show any water. There's no pond there, but that's what it looks like. One of the pictures is our septic system. This is our first experience with septic. We are in constant stress that it's going to fail because that acre of land that gets all the water is just to the north of our septic field. And so that's the inlet valve that it's got standing water in it. And I know once the previous homeowners there, the basement, they had a septic failure. We have not yet. We've only been there 6 months. So that is a constant worry for us as well, that the septic would fail.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the petition? Yes, sir.
Mike Kissel.
Oh, great. And I have to remember to swear you in. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Mike Kissel, I live at 3102 Clark Shaw, property 20.
20.
We original, bought the land, we built our house 26 years ago. We love living out where we do. We definitely have an issue. Our issue, I have done a lot of grading over the years, and I have corrected a lot of the problems that we've had. But my biggest fear is we're very reliant on this 100-year-old clay tile to get the water away from our properties. At some point, that tile is going to, there's no maintenance on that tile. That tile is going to continue to fail, and if it does, you're at the mercy of your neighbors downstream to fix it. And if they don't, then you have no way to get the water off your property. To me, that's one of the key things that this does. It may not improve drastically today for me, but I'm more concerned long-term what this is going to do, is to have a system in place that's going to allow that water to move off and that I can tie into. Again, I'm concerned about the septics. You know, when we have, you got to have the current drain, your septic has to have a place to drain to, and having the opportunity to run our septic curtain drains into this new tile that's always going to be flowing is key to a healthy septic system. And all of us, you know, we were allowed to build these properties all these years ago. Well, if we don't have the drainage, it's not going to work. And again, the key to the drainage is, right now, we're relying on a 100-year-old system that, again, we're at the mercy of everyone doing the right thing and maintaining it. If someone cuts a tile, there's nothing that Delaware County can do to force someone to fix their tile. You're just at the mercy that the people will do the right thing. And again, I understand there's a lot of cost involved with this, and, you know, no one likes spending money, but there's a lot of things that we spend money on our properties as an investment in our property, and I look at it as an investment. I understand there's people who are going to have more benefit than others in the area, and there's probably no fair way to assess everything to make it completely equitable. You do with as best as you can, and I just feel that there's going to be a lot of benefit to a lot of homeowners, and sometimes you have to do something that's good for your neighbor as well. So that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Anyone else who would like to testify in favor of the petition? I will swear you in, ma'am. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Margaret Steen, 3222 Clarkshaw Road. My husband Jeff could not be here today, unfortunately.
Which
I think-
parcel?
Which parcel?
3, I
We're
believe.
the most flooded.
Number
Where are
3.
we? 3? We're 3.
Okay.
We're 3.
3.
I think Terry spoke about how we are the most flooded, I think, of everybody on Clarkshaw. And the septic, that is a big concern. We have to wait until everybody to the east of us drains before ours drains. The tile has been a big concern. We have replaced a tremendous amount of tile in our yard. And there's not a whole lot more we can do on our own. But I agree with the Kissels here about it's everybody benefiting everyone else. It's not just us, because we've lived with it for this long. I mean, we started this petition how long ago? So it's the neighbors looking out for the neighbors here. And I guess that's just the point I wanted to make, that it is a lot of money, and we understand that. And that's why we brought it back up, and we decided to separate the petition so that we could move forward with it. That it's just everybody looking out for everybody, and it is something that we need. It's not getting better, it's just getting worse. So I just appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Anyone else wish to testify for the petition? Who would like to testify in opposition to the petition?
Commissioner Lewis, we do have a email from Paul Bergen that needs to be noted into the record.
Okay.
It's 3200 Clarkshaw. Oh, sorry, sir.
Oh, my God, that's right.
Yeah.
Here you are. Great.
Here I am.
And I will swear you in. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
I do. So as Terry eloquently said, I have all my neighbors around me, and I want everybody's water to go away, and it's been a real pain for me as well. Unfortunately, my property sits outside of the watershed. I guess two factors. Number one, I don't have enough information to really make a decision here. because of the exhibit we gave you about the road coming through our house. We realize that the developers will be the ones that will buy the property and ask the county to put a road in place. We have seen the roads, or I should say the property across the street starting to be developed, and if we would have had a drone, we would have probably been able to show you where that major road is coming. It's ending right at our driveway. So my feeling is it's going to end up coming through the house. And because of that, I don't feel like I want to spend the money if 5 years later my house is going to be torn down. So that's really the only reason I don't want to approve this. If you could tell me that the road was going to go on either side, or if I lived where anybody else in this room lives, I would definitely say yes. So.
For a
that's
point of
what I'm proposing.
clarification.
Yes.
You indicated most of your property is outside the watershed, is that correct?
The majority of it. It is, I don't know, for some reason, there we go. My property's right there. So literally, you're cutting across, I have a flag lot, so you're cutting across the pole right here. So this little piece right here is my property.
So basically the road to get to your property?
Yeah, so I have water standing in my front yard, I have water standing in my backyard. If somehow, I could easily tie into that, maybe you say I can tie into that, I don't know, but from what I'm seeing right now with the road where it's proposed, it doesn't make financial sense to me, unless you can guarantee that somehow that's not going to happen, which I know the county engineer will never guarantee that, so. But if anybody needs their driveway plowed, I do have a complaint. Let me know.
Okay, is there anyone else who would like to speak against the petition? Yes.
So,
I will swear you in.
all right.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Swear in. Okay, so on property 23.
And just your name and address again.
My name's Austin Cart, address 3073 Clarkshaw Road, Pal, Ohio, 43065.
Which number?
Not seeing
Which
the
number?
23. Unfortunately, my property is an intersection between the two watersheds, which is not good for me. But the actual water issue on my property is non-existent. The ditch, basically the trench in my front yard, is completely empty. So the beneficial benefits of this is not me, but the complex is coming behind me, which is going to be the majority of concrete in little 8-foot by 8-foot yards, which aren't going to have any natural draining abilities. So that little trench in my front yard is going to be basically full at all times when that comes in there. But I'm not the one considering or creating the water issues. It's this multi-million-dollar complex that is going to make, around $150,000 to $200,000 a month off rental properties. Why am I, as a guy with a 125-year-old house that has natural drainage capabilities, soil hasn't been touched in over 125 years, paying for a multi-million-dollar, basically, investment that is going to create these huge water issues? This is why this is all coming to a head, is at this particular moment, the water's bad, but wait till that multi-million-dollar basic investment comes to fruition. It's going to be 6 times what we have now. There's going to be ponds littered all the way across there. So why are we paying for them to get the benefit to make it a large investment and to make a large profit? If they're making a profit off us, you guys approved for them allowed to build that condominium there, and them houses. They are responsible for this situation, not us, because they are going to worsen this issue twofold. It's going to be so much worse. So I understand it's going to benefit everybody on the other side of the road. I understand what their problems they have now, but it's going to be a lot worse than this. Because, well, it's all concrete, the amount of concrete, square footage of the concrete, the amount of draining capabilities lost from that. Why are we paying for it when it should be on them? That's why I was asking about the drainage capabilities that's coming from the condominiums and the expected runoff. I mean, it's going to be double what the normal consumer creates because we have slight natural draining capabilities inside our soil. Now, these new homes, it's basically when they dig down to dig a basement, they take that basically clay and a lot of the other soils that's mixed in deeper in, and they put it on the top of the surface. And what they do after that, that can't grow grass, so they put 2 to 3 inches of topsoil on top of that. Now, that completely eliminates a vast majority of the amount of drainage that can occur. And what we have is basically, what do you guys say, almost 100 and some acres of these new homes coming in that have significantly reduced the amount of natural draining. And then we have to pay for this upgrade. Because if you look at it, this was all done in 2008. Basically, we talked about this. I didn't even own a house at the time. But in 2008, it's really odd that this all came to fruition in 2018 after a major development was basically, said in the contract that it was going to be happening. Because suddenly everybody started panicking. It was like, we didn't really care about the small people at the time, but now we have a multi-million-dollar tax revenue. Let's try to make everybody pay for it, and it shouldn't be our responsibility, unfortunately, because we didn't matter before that. But suddenly we matter because there's a couple hundred homes coming, 1,100 homes. And there's 1,100 homes that have to deal with this drainage issue. But we are the ones paying the majority of it. We are paying for 1,100 homes to be able to be drained. We are one home, and we have so much more natural abilities to drain than what they have versus them. They have almost, their percentage is down to like 10%. We have maybe 70% of drainage. So it's not.
So you're opposed to it?
Oh, I'm definitely opposed.
Okay.
Especially since they're trying to charge me $7,200 and I'm about to have condos surrounding my property. So I have a horse, and I'm glad that you guys have a horse in too. Not yet. Not yet? Not here. We do have a skid steer over there if you guys want to fix that draining problem. But, yeah, it's going to be a fun one, though.
Okay,
Yeah, back to this.
If you want to talk to people, though, you can do it later.
Yeah, I know. But it's not beneficial to my property. It's beneficial to everybody else's. But my property it's not in the danger zone yet, but here in 2 years, I will have severe drainage issues caused by basically that complex right there. But as of right now, the vast, who it's going to actually help is not us. It's going to help this actual setup here, because you can't build something like that without the correct drainage procedures in. They're also doing their septic tanks back there, which is good, but there's a lot of runoff from that too. So why are we paying for basically something that's going to make so many millions? Because just from my estimates, they're projected to make $60 million just off of those homes. And then off of the actual rental properties, it's going to be $150,000 to $200,000 a month profit. They can afford to pay for this. Why are we as small home buyers basically subjected to have to deal with a corporation coming in there and trying to control us from paying this? So why are we paying so they can make a profit?
Okay, well, I can answer that. We're here today because we were asked by certain neighbors in your area, and we are obliged under the Ohio Revised Code to have a hearing and to consider this, because obviously there are some drainage problems. And it has not, and again, like you even stated, this started in 2008. So you're bringing in another factor that, looks like something else is coming down the line, which won't be that far from you.
Yep.
But as far as our duty here today, we have to respond to those who filed the petition.
Yep. And
So, okay, I'm going to, if there's nothing else, you stated this several times,
Well, in
but
2008, we were the small fish, and suddenly we're an up-and-coming development
yeah.
area.
Sir, I want to let others speak. If you have any other points, make them now.
Okay, I'll sit down.
Thank you. Anyone else opposed to the petition? And if you could, I will swear you in. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, yes.
Okay.
We're parcel A.
Oh, I'm sorry, name and address and
Sandy
parcel.
Bernard, 2917 Clark Shaw Road.
Okay.
We're parcel 8 up there. It's just barely cutting through my parents' property. We have lived there, they've lived there for over 50 years. I grew up there, grew up on the road. We used to have a ditch on the north side of the road that was 4 feet deep, about 2 feet wide, and which pulled most of the water from the north side because it ran on the north side, and it went the whole length of the road. When they sold the property and all those homes went in on the north side, they took out the ditch. Reason why, I don't know, but it is gone. There's just a little dip now instead of the deep ditch that used to be that carried the water down to the Scioto. There's, the gentleman said that they're not putting any kind of lateral drains or anything across my parents' property. So why should she have to pay money for nothing that's being done to her property, that it's going to, they're assessing her over $4,000. But nothing's being done to her property. We have the parkway that just went in out front. We got a great big drainage pipe out there. So, it's kind of like if it's only affecting the north side of the road, then why is the south properties having to pay for that? I know he's saying, well, it's going to help your drainage, but we don't have a problem with that drainage at the moment. That it's fine. They had houses put in on the east side of their property. They never put a ditch there, so those homes that they put in over there, now all the water that's over there, because they raised their houses up, that runs onto my parents' property, which is on that side. We've never caused a problem, sat there and said, oh, gee, I wish I had been here, because I would have said to the county, you want to explain why you didn't put a ditch down that road, down the lane, so that their water runs into a ditch out to the ditch that runs east and west? But they didn't, and it lays on my parents' property. So in the parkway, the ditch that they put in, it still doesn't even pull the water out to there. So without these lateral drains that he says is not going on my parents' property, why should she have to pay over $4,000 for it?
Brett, would you care to address that? I think
I
you
know you're saying that
talked about
it
it
will
before.
help eventually, but, and that you're putting in where the culvert is, you're going to put in a new culvert?
Let me address the question of benefits. All properties that contribute water to the system are assessed for the cost if the project is approved. Water from the south side of the road drains across Clarkshaw Road to the north side and down through the properties on the north side of the road. So there may be properties on the south side of the road or even on the north side of the road that may not have standing water on their property, but their water has to go somewhere, and it enters the system. So it travels downstream, follows the course of gravity, in this case maybe not very efficiently currently, but it does travel from south to north in this watershed. Therefore, those properties are assessed for their water using the improvement if it's approved.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else opposed to the petition who wishes to testify?
We've heard all.
Okay, it appears that, are there any questions from the board? You'd like to speak in opposition, okay? Let me just swear you in.
Alrighty.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
It is, yes. I'm at 3180 Clark.
Just name, address, yeah, name,
3180 Clarkshaw,
your name,
Terry Air-Smith.
okay?
Parcel number?
I'm not opposed to the tile itself.
Which number are you, sir? I'm sorry.
I would be, looks like number 4.
Number 4, okay.
Basically, I bought that property because I evaluated it when I purchased it, and it was at the apex of the, highest topo, so the water would go to the east or the west. So I really don't have the standing water problems like everybody else does. And the Steens, like I say, I'm not opposed to helping them out. They've struggled for a long time, and it's cost them a lot of money. What I am opposed to is the fact that I am forced to spend that $3,100 in this case, and then ongoing fees forever. And I really don't need to tie into that tile. What's happening on my property, being a high point, it runs off. So I'm not really going to be, there's no benefit to me to tie into that tile. And where it's located, it'd be difficult to do anyway, where it connects to my goes through my driveway. I oppose the fact that I have to pay it, that it's mine, and I'm forced to do so, even though what I have is not underwater. That's, I don't mind the tile going through. It's what I'm opposing is the cost to me. to devaluate my land. And that's how I look at it. If there's a 25-foot easement, that's a restriction. Any restriction on any property is going to devaluate it. That's how I look at it. And I'm forced to pay that. And that's what I'm opposed to.
Okay, all righty, thank you. Anyone else wish to testify against the petition? Okay, we will move on then. We've heard from those in favor, those opposed, and I believe at this point we would,
Generally, you know the question I'm going to ask. I ask it every time, but I think it's an appropriate question. And these are always difficult issues because when you're not affected personally, I understand that, but I appreciate your comment because you talked about you appreciate the problem they had, but you don't have it. So, but the question I always ask, after hearing all the testimony you've heard, all the questions, anything here changes your mind?
I have not heard anything that would change my mind.
okay?
I will ask that we make the motion to close the hearing.
Okay. Resolution number 19-207, in the matter of closing the public hearing to address the Rudder West Drainage Improvement Petition Project.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-207. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Okay, the hearing is closed, and,
I'll make a couple of comments and I'll recommend a
Okay, sure.
motion. As I alluded to just a second ago, these are really difficult for us as commissioners because I think we empathize with everybody that's involved and affected. This one happens to go back far before we were even sitting here, 2006, 2008. And it's been an issue for a number of years. But following the guidelines we have to follow, whether your property is dry or not, it is some of your water, and it contributes to the issue downstream, and we have to follow the guidelines, and we're hearing that the benefits exceed the cost, and that's important consideration in this, and because of that, I support the proposal. Regarding these condominiums and things, these are fairly recent. They weren't here in 2006, 2008. This problem existed in that time frame. There will be an expectation that their water will be handled. And do you want to comment on that real briefly about that? How that gets handled? Because it might be helpful. Okay.
Brett Bergerford, Delaware County Engineers Office. I'm thinking your question is how, in the future, if any development occurs, how will that stormwater be managed?
Right.
Is that accurate?
Correct.
Our Development Review Department within the County Engineers Office reviews all engineering plans for any proposed developments. All proposed developments have to meet the county standards for retention and release rates. And so if any development occurs within this corridor or anywhere within the county, it has to come through our development review group. So to answer the question, the specific answer is it will be managed and it will be released to address both quantity and water quality per the county and state standards. Does that answer your question?
That's my question, yes.
The hearing's closed.
Hearing's
Yeah.
closed.
Yeah.
So I will, I don't know if you have any more comments. If not, I'll make the,
I guess I would comment similar to Commissioner Merrill, and that is these are very difficult decisions because we're affecting people's finances. I remember from the viewing, there is a significant water problem in this watershed, and it's just within this watershed that we have before us today. And so, again, the engineer in soil and water worked out a good plan, and unfortunately, it doesn't come without cost, and we're required, to follow the code. So, again, this is one of those tough ones, but I support it as well.
The only thing I'd like you to address a little bit more, I'm not sure if it's the engineer's office or soil and water, would be the road, the Sites Road coming through and how those decisions are made. I mean, I just want to make sure that if we move ahead on this, that there will be no interruption or anything. If for some reason, I don't want anything to happen to the new drainage that you're going to be, this whole system that you're going to be putting in.
Understood. Again, Brett Berger for Delaware County Engineer's Office. Roadways, homes, anything that's constructed within a petition ditch project is subjected to our review. So say a road were to come through a 6131 approved drainage project, that drainage would need to be protected
Okay.
or incorporated to be conveyed around, under, through any type of project, roadway, development, home construction. We have individual homes being, to be constructed. So with that easement that we've discussed before and a little bit earlier, that maintains or ensures that drainage is protected and not damaged or impacted.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Ready to read?
Okay, I will read. We have
Resolution.
3 sets of resolutions to, board to make decision on. We'll start with the main. Resolution number 19-208, in the matter of finding in favor of the improvement and affirming the order for the main part of the Rudder West Watershed Drainage Improvement Petition Project.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-208. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-209, in the matter of the Commissioners confirming the assessments, approving the payment schedule, and ordering the letting of contracts for the main part of the Rudder West Drainage Improvement Petition Project.
So moved. I'll move it. Commissioner Earl, second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-209. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
We'll move on to lateral A1. Resolution number 19-210, in the matter of finding in favor of the improvement and affirming the order for the lateral A1 of the Rudder West Watershed Drainage Improvement Petition Project.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Just make a comment. I didn't hear anything today that would make me believe that should be not included in this
No, right.
project. So
I didn't either. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-210. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-211, in the matter of the Commissioners confirming the assessment, approving the payment schedule, and ordering the letting of contracts for lateral A1 of the Rudder West Drainage Improvement Project.
So moved.
second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-211. Mr. Merrill? Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-213. This will be for lateral A2. In the matter of the Commissioners finding in favor of the improvement and affirming the order for the lateral A2 of the Rudder West Drainage Improvement Project petition.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-213. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-214, in the matter of the Commissioners confirming the assessments, approving the payment schedule, and ordering the letting of contracts for the lateral A2 of the Rudder West Drainage Improvement Project.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 19-214. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Yeah,
That is it.
that's it. Okay.
You can adjourn if
I
you'd
can
like.
adjourn our regular meeting. We have no other business before us, the county commissioners, as county commissioners, therefore we are adjourned.